Salut! Hi everybody! So I have here a lesson to introduce you to the next learning guide package in French 9, and this just so happens to be the very last learning guide package for our course. So we're done with learning about music in French, and we are moving on to the final unit that has to do with stories. Okay, so if you go to the THSS Languages website, I have the link right up here. So if I were you, I would make a note of that so you know how to access the learning guide. If you go to that website, you'll see here that I have a list right over at the bottom left here for different French 9 learning guide packages. They're all available for you online, okay? So the learning guide package we're dealing with today, like I told you before, is the very last learning guide package. So you can go ahead right here and click on French 9 Learning Guide 16 to 20 package. And when you do that, you'll come to this screen here. So all of the learning guides are available online. You can access them through the website, but I would recommend that you simply download this to your computer if you're able to, just so that you have quick access to it and you don't have to keep going to the languages website essentially. So this learning guide package, our last unit, is all about nos histoires, and in English that means our stories. So the big idea for this unit is that you'll be able to share your own experiences and your own perspectives through story. So we will be learning some story time vocabulary. We will be reading a story or two in French together, and then the final project will result in you actually writing your own very basic simple story in French. Okay, so that's sort of the scope of this unit. You can have a look at some of the activities that are in the learning guide, but obviously given our situation, we're not going to be completing all of the activities that are in here. But today we're just going to start with the really basic stuff, and that's our vocabulary. We have to know these words as we're reading our stories to really understand what the stories are trying to say. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is in your learning guide package, Nos histoires, I'd like you to turn to page 2, and we're going to go through some vocab today that you should become familiar with for this unit. Okay, so as you can see here, I have my list of different mots pour la narration, and that essentially just means words for narration. So words that are frequently used in stories, okay? So we're going to go through this list of different vocab words, and what I'd like you to do to practice speaking French, after I say the word in French, repeat it after me like we normally would do, and then I'll let you know what the actual translation is, okay? So here we go, let's start. Pour commencer, to begin. Il était une fois, once upon a time. Premièrement, first. Deuxièmement, second. Troisièmement, third. Finalement, finally. En conclusion, in conclusion. Dernièrement, lastly. Enfin, finally. Le lendemain, the next day. À l'occasion, on occasion. Quelquefois, sometimes. Alors, so. Après, after. Aussi, also. Parfois, at times, or sometimes. Mais, but. Ensuite, next. Parce que, because. Et, and. Ou, or. Maintenant, now. Puis, then. Au contraire, on the other hand. Pendant que, while. Plus tard, later. Soudainement, suddenly. Tout à coup, also suddenly. À cause de, because of. Souvent, often. Toujours, always. Tous les jours, every day. Pendant, during. And finally, vraiment, really. So this on here, page 2, is a really good list of a bunch of different types of words you might find in stories. We have some words up here to start your story. We've got some different words to continue on the story, as well as some other transition words down here. And then we've also got some words to conclude your story and tie things up. So this is a really handy list to have. If you are adding to a flashcard list, I would definitely add these words on here because even though a lot of them, as it says here, are used in stories, quite a few of these you would use in actual just conversations with people. They're not necessarily just found in stories. So what I'd like you to do after you make note of these different vocab words, what I'd like you to do is download the worksheet that I have on my blueprint for this particular activity. And here we have it. So the purpose of this activity here is essentially just to practice with this new vocab. So what I'd like you to do is just follow along with me as I read through the instructions. For section A, what you're going to be doing is simply translating the underlined English words into French using the vocab on page 2 of our brand new learning guide. So as you can see here, there is a story being told. We've got 10 different sentences, and in each of these sentences, some of the words are underlined and in English, and it's up to you to rewrite the sentence or retype the sentence below, but instead of just retyping it, you're turning the word or the phrase that is in English into French, and all of these terms can be found from page 2, so you shouldn't have too much difficulty with that. Now, after you translate these words into French, I'd like you to try and actually read the sentences. Try and read the story and piece it together and see what's actually going on in this story. Because section B, if you turn to the next page, as you can see, what you're doing is putting the following pictures in order. Okay, now these are different pictures. Yes, I drew them. I know, I'm an artist. Brilliant, right? What you're going to be doing is reading the story, and each of these pictures coincide or match up with one of these sentences from the story. Okay, so do your best to try and piece together the story on your own, but if you have to use word reference or search up a word or two on Google Translate, that's okay too, just so that you understand the gist of what the story is trying to say. And again, after you've pieced together the story in French, you know what it's trying to say in English, then you simply match the different pictures 1 through 10 with each of the 10 sentences, just so that we get a visual representation of how this story actually played out. Okay, so this is just a short introduction activity for our new vocabulary for this unit. If you have any questions whatsoever as you're completing this page, don't hesitate to email me or message me on my blueprint or anything like that. I'm here to help. But once you've finished these pages here and you feel confident with the vocab, then don't forget to upload this onto my blueprint so that I can give you a little bit of feedback and see how you're doing with these new words, okay? All right, au revoir.